decide what to pack for my friend's wedding. Maybe this? Oh my gosh, you can't wear that. Why not? It's not like the wedding is black tie formal. It's white. You can't wear white to someone else's wedding. Everyone will think you're trying to upstage the bride. That's ridiculous. No one will think that. It's not like she's gonna show up wearing a veil or orange blossoms. It's still white. It's inappropriate. Any woman who got married earlier in the year is gonna be wearing her own wedding dress. I don't see why wearing white is a problem. But that's so rude. It's not. Both of you, stop it. There is literally no bride at this wedding. Neither of the people getting married are women, so I think she's safe from upstaging a bride who doesn't exist. So, do I wear this or something else? Don't listen to them, just bring that. As you may have guessed, dear viewers, I have a conundrum. I am attending a wedding for literally the first time in my adult life in a few months, and I am going to have to decide what to wear. Being so unfamiliar with weddings, it's a little confusing, and I figured if I was confused, I probably wasn't alone. So I asked you, my darling audience, for your wedding-related fashion questions, and then dug through Victorian-era fashion magazines and etiquette books for answers. Will this help me decide what to wear to my friend's wedding? Probably not, but I think it'll be a good time. I have had to be well rested to contend with all of the fuss around wedding-related research, so I have to thank Birch Living for sponsoring today's video. Their 4th of July sale is live now, so be sure to head to my link in the description to check them out. Birch makes mattresses crafted with organic, natural, and sustainably sourced materials. Their mattresses don't use polyurethane foams or fiberglass, and they own their manufacturing facility, so they can keep it entirely free from fiberglass-containing products and their potentially harmful effects. Instead, they use natural materials that accomplish the same things, like 100% organic wool, which is flame-resistant, hypoallergenic, and biodegradable. My Birch Luxe mattress has a solid and impressive list of third-party and environmental safety certifications, one of the longest I've seen for a textile product. GOTS certified, Green Guard Gold, Fair Trade, Forest Stewardship Council. It's made of 8 different layers of organic wool, organic cashmere, organic cotton, and 100% natural latex, with a quilted pillow top for the perfect balance of softness and support. The natural Dunlop latex that relieves pressure points, and there's targeted zone lumbar support. Basically, it's great for your back. I've had 2 years of the best sleep of my life with my Birch Luxe mattress, which is saying something considering I have chronic pain and spine problems. Birch mattresses have a 25-year warranty, so you can look forward to many years of great sleep. And if it doesn't work out, Birch offers a 100-night sleep trial. They'll even deliver your mattress right to your door, rolled up in a box. I am 5'2" and disabled, and I only needed a little help to unpack it and set it up. For bonus convenience, Birch also offers in-home setup and removal. I love my Birch mattress, and I think you would too. If you're looking for a new bed, check out Birch Living. Their 4th of July sale is live now, so it's the perfect time to upgrade your sleep with 25% off a Birch mattress, plus 2 free EcoRest pillows. Visit birchliving.com/SnappyDragon to find out more about this limited time offer. Possibly this is relevant to anyone who is getting married. Hey, we're in company! Come on, what century do you think it is? So, questions. An overwhelming number of you asked some version of the following. Is it acceptable to wear any amount of white, cream, or other pastel colors as a guest to a wedding? And why do people have such a problem with it? I think much of the objection has to do with the ubiquitousness of white for bridal gowns in Western fashion. Therefore, wearing white to someone else's wedding must be a tasteless attempt to upstage the bride. However, and somewhat ironically, the Victorians have much less fussy views about this than we do. White was decidedly not reserved for brides only at Victorian-era weddings. The June 13, 1868 issue of Harper's Bazaar says, "At a quiet wedding lately, the fair young bride and her maids looked very lovely in dresses of white organdy, simply adorned with fluted ruffles of the same. Such a dress will come within the bounds of the most modest income, as the finest organdy is only $1.50 a yard and is 2 yards wide. Would that fabric was that cheap these days." And The Art of Dressing Well by Sarah Annie Frost advises, while it is entirely proper for the bridesmaids to wear white, as well as the bride, the effect is prettier if their dresses are trimmed with delicately colored ribbons or flowers, and their headdresses also of colored flowers. Speaking of all these magazine references, I publish full annotated bibliographies on my Patreon if you want to find out where I get the good stuff, as well as hosting monthly video chats and running a really lovely Discord server to hang out in. You can find all that at patreon.com/SnappyDragonStudios. At this point in Western fashion history, color wasn't what indicated the bride, popular as white wedding dresses were becoming in the 19th century. It seems wearing orange blossoms was the symbol reserved for the person getting married, and they're mentioned in nearly every book or magazine I consulted. And Modern Etiquette in Public and Private declares most firmly, orange blossoms are worn once in life and once only, and are the prerogative of the maiden bride. Orange blossoms represented the bride even more so than wearing a veil, which were sometimes also worn by the bridesmaids. A segment in Harper's Bazaar from December 28, 1867, describes a wedding where the bridesmaids also were handsomely arrayed in white silk, with lace overdresses, all white, except the novel edition of Leaves of Bismarck Brown as a fastening to the half veils they wore. And not only that, brides who had full formal wedding dresses made for their wedding were expected to wear their wedding dress to all formal functions they attended for a year after getting married, including other people's weddings. Per Harper's Bazaar on October 23, 1897, taking it for granted that the wedding dress is a white, high-necked, conventional bridal costume, it would be perfectly proper and suitable for a bride of 3 weeks to wear it at her relative's afternoon wedding, unless the ceremony is to be very quiet and others are to wear walking costumes. In that case, the bridal attire would be too much dress. Ordinarily, a bride wears her wedding dress at full dress evening functions that she attends during the first year after her marriage, with, of course, the high-necked bodice prescribed for the marriage day made décolleté, and any bridal flowers it may be trimmed with removed. Obviously, we now live in the 21st century, and the white dress has replaced orange blossoms as the indicator of who's the bride. The art of dressing well thankfully offers some more general advice. To outdress the bride is in bad taste, and where simplicity is the rule amongst the bridal party, the guests must observe it also. So here's my thoughts, although I should remind you all again that I have never been to a wedding in my adult life, and you are welcome to take this with a whole cellar of salt. Consider your intended outfit and ask yourself this. If someone who didn't know anyone at the wedding saw a photo of you there, would they assume you must be the bride? If not, then wear what you like. Guests who have nothing better to do than nitpick other people's clothes seem to be a feature of weddings, and if they are determined to judge you, they'll find something to do about no matter what you wear. Check in with someone involved in the wedding if you feel it's appropriate, but otherwise, you might as well wear what makes you feel celebratory. On a similar note, many of you also asked, when and why did white become ubiquitous for bridal gowns in Western fashion? Well, if we simply ask the Victorians, custom has decided from the earliest ages that white is the most fitting hue for brides, whatever may be the material. It is an emblem of the purity and innocence of girlhood and the unsullied heart which she now yields to the chosen one. However, the real situation is not so simple. Queen Victoria herself is often credited for popularizing the white wedding gown. It's true she did wear all white as a symbol of purity, and it was unusual, but more so because she designed the gown to symbolize domestic bliss rather than her royal status. Previous English royal wedding gowns had incorporated white, such as Princess Charlotte's, but with heavy metallic embroidery indicating royalty. Prior to the 19th century, there are references in art and literature for white dresses as bridal clothes, but not with the strength of tradition that developed later. 18th century artist William Hogarth did at least 2 paintings of brides in white dresses, and 18th century ladies' magazines also described luxurious white bridal gowns. Many thanks to Reddit user Mimic of Modes for putting together and posting these references. White was popular mainly for conspicuous consumption, because it wasn't as easy to keep clean or reuse. So despite the idealization of white bridal gowns, there was no one unifying color in Western fashion prior to the 20th century or so. You wore the best, showiest dress you could. This could range from your existing Sunday or Shabbos or other best dress if you couldn't afford a new one, to a new best dress that you would then reuse, to an elaborate new outfit just for the wedding. The Social Mirror by Rose E. Cleveland in 1888 states, "The conventional costume is white satin, veil, and orange blossoms, but this may be varied to suit the taste of the bride. The fabric of the gown may be any pretty white material, or it need not be white at all. Several brides have looked charming of late in delicate tints of pink, cream, tea rose, and heliotrope, and where the wedding is very quiet, dark silks of tan, brown, wine, or plum are becomingly worn." Queen Victoria's wedding dress and the magazine coverage thereof certainly began the popularization of white as a bridal color, but it took nearly 100 years for it to become universal or expected in the way we think of it. Meanwhile, we have extant wedding dresses of known provenance in plenty of other colors. This one is brown, while a slightly fancier one is a rich purple. Even cooler, they both have digitized patterns! A number of you also asked about traditional bridal colors outside of Western fashion. This is a little harder to speak to when pulling answers from English language 19th century sources, and someone with a different background could probably make an entire video just on this. Red is a traditional color in many parts of Asia, and in many of those same places, white is the color of mourning, which I've heard creates some tricky decisions for brides needing to combine Asian and Western traditions for a wedding. One of the books I came across, Wedding Etiquette and Usages and Polite Society by George D. Carroll, contains descriptions of weddings from various parts of the world. Although, again, with the whole cellar of salt, because 19th century Western descriptions of, well, anywhere not westernized are prone to exaggeration and prejudice. There are two accounts of what appears to be the same Jewish wedding in Tangier, where the bride wears a red dress with gold embroidery. I'm not sure if red was the traditional color for bridal clothes in this community, or if colors were chosen based on what suited the bride's status and preferences. And even within Europe, what we now think of as Western fashion was predominantly influenced by English and French trends, hence the uptake of the white wedding dress. In areas with stronger regional traditions, it would have taken much longer for Western fashion to supersede traditional wedding clothes. Somewhere in my reading, I remember seeing reference to Scandinavian brides traditionally wearing black in the 19th century, but I spent an afternoon combing through my admittedly poorly organized resources and couldn't find it again. So take that as you will. Speaking of black, some of you asked why wearing black is discouraged for guests. It seems like this applies to femme-dressing guests, as I've never heard any complaints about black in menswear suits. It's mentioned numerous times that any guests of a wedding who are in mourning should either sit somewhere out of view and not stay long, or wear lesser mourning even if it isn't time yet. Emily Holt's Encyclopedia of Etiquette from 1901 says, "Women in deep mourning do not take conspicuous seats at a church wedding, tactfully recognizing the inharmoniousness of their somber weeds in the gaily gowned assembly." Sarah Annie Frost's book explains, "Black is never to be worn at a wedding or wedding reception. Persons in the deepest mourning are allowed to wear lavender, white, or gray on these occasions, even if they resume close black immediately afterwards." Black seems to be considered either bad luck or would reduce the ability of people to celebrate the wedding if they had to look at deep mourning clothes. In England, there are some references to members of the bridal household who were in deep mourning, but obligated to be part of the wedding wearing dark red. This all does seem a bit silly to me, and honestly, while clothes can be an important tool for social signaling, I do think assigning these kinds of meaning to other wedding guests' clothes is, once again, because some people have nothing better to do than be judgmental. Mourning attire serves an important social function. My friend Katie of Latina Living History has an excellent video on the topic and how mourning indicates that people need to be treated gently while they grieve. It's up to you which option will be better for you, wearing black if you have a reason, or choosing another color for the occasion. I did get a variety of other questions, some of which I can answer quickly, and some which will go into the vault for future video ideas. Firstly, is it a faux pas for people who aren't part of the groom's party to wear the fancy waistcoat and nice hat? Well, firstly, groomsmen as we understand them were not part of any wedding tradition I saw in my reading. The nearest equivalent seems to have been ushers, male friends of the marrying pair whose job it was to show guests to their seats and make introductions at the reception. Secondly, Holt's Encyclopedia of Etiquette states that to an afternoon or noon wedding, the masculine guest wears a black frock coat, gray trousers, a waistcoat of white pique or brown linen, or one that matches his coat. a four-in-hand ascot or butterfly bow tie of silk or satin in a cheerful color, and a silk hat. So pretty much any guest in menswear can be wearing the fancy waistcoat and nice hat, unless the wedding is white tie formal, in which case white waistcoats for everyone. But do mind Sarah Annie Frost's earlier advice that it can be bad taste to outdress the spouses and wedding party. You might want to adjust your fancy attire so it's clear you're a guest rather than part of the wedding. Next. Has anyone ever thought about how groom is short for bridegroom and roughly means bride but a guy? Answering a correspondent on September 19th, 1868, Harper's Bazaar says the name of bridegroom was formerly given to the newly married man because it was customary for him to wait at table on his bride and friends on the wedding day. The original meaning of groom is serving man. Next, why are weddings so fancy? I'm not quoting a magazine to answer this because it seems like nearly all cultures throughout history have taken weddings or equivalents as an excuse to throw parties or have ceremonies. The tendency for high-status events to be pointedly complex and showy also seems to transcend time or place. So, best answer I can give is because humans are like this. And lastly, what are my favorite Jewish wedding traditions? Ask me when I've been to a few more weddings. At this point, I'd have to say I really like how artistic and symbolic some of my married friends' ketubot, ceremonial marriage contracts, are, with really gorgeous calligraphy and illuminations. Honestly, all of this reading about weddings, modern or historical, has left me feeling really glad that my friend's wedding will be nothing like what I've read about. Heck, it seems like being a queer wedding with no brides saves a huge amount of trouble. We're celebrating how much my friends love each other, which is, in my mind, what weddings should really be about. Not the carefully unspoken pomp and circumstance that seems to exist just to catch people out if they didn't get whatever the secret message is. And I cannot wait. Although I still haven't decided what on earth I'm going to wear. That's what we've got for today, dear viewers. I'm looking forward to making this a series of sorts, where I answer your fashion questions with Victorian era advice. Let me know in the comments what other topics you'd like to see historical fashion advice about. While you're there, don't forget to tell YouTube you liked what you saw, and subscribe for more fashion history sass. You can find me around the internet at Miss SnappyDragon on Facebook, Instagram, and very occasionally TikTok. If you want to see where I got all this Victorian advice, you can head to patreon.com/SnappyDragonStudios. Perhaps I'll see you in this month's video call or on the Discord. And if not, I'll see you around. Okay, so if there's no bride, here's what matters. What time is the wedding? Because if it's before 7, you don't want to show up overdressed. That doesn't matter. What color are the people getting married wearing? Because you can't wear the same as that.